In our headlines on this Friday, December 13th, here in South Korea, a second impeachment vote aimed at suspending the president from duty will take place tomorrow, that is Saturday, at the Parliament, and opposition lawmakers are calling for tangible participation from their ruling counterparts. And police authorities are reportedly exploring the possibility of seeking an arrest warrant for the president, as well as a search warrant for his residence and his communication records. Meanwhile, economic perception has taken a beating amid the chaos within the political arena here, and risk factors beyond borders look to further dampen prospects. The Parliament here decides on the President's political fate tomorrow as a second impeachment motion is put up to a vote. And while opposition parties stand unified to support the motion yet again, the ruling party appears divided. Our correspondent Lee Si-hoo explains.
How will the National Assembly decide this Saturday? To sway the result yet up in the air, the rival parties scrambled to give their last push Friday, the day before the second scheduled vote on President Yoon's impeachment. The opposition reported to the plenary session the motion to impeach the president for violating his duty to safeguard the Constitution in its declaration of martial law on December 3rd. In his final push, the DP leader Lee Jae-myung said a new chapter will be written in South Korea's history this Saturday and urged the ruling party lawmakers to join the opposition in their efforts.
Impeachment is the fastest, most certain way to end this chaos. Please join us in voting for impeachment tomorrow. History will remember your decision.
This while internal disputes shake the ruling People Power Party, with its leader Han Dong-un and his close allies standing firm on Yoon's impeachment since the president's public address on Thursday, and the new floor leader Kwon Sung-dong arguing that the party's consensus at the moment is to turn down the impeachment. Kwon said that for the party to change the current consensus, it will need the consent of at least 2/3 of all its elected members.
I will collect the general opinion of the party's lawmakers on whether to alter or keep the party consensus.
So far, at least 7 ruling party members have spoken openly of their will to vote for the impeachment. This is just one short of the 8 needed from the PPP for the motion to pass, in addition to full support from the 192-member opposition. The PPP is expected to hold internal meetings to finalize their consensus before the vote. But whether its members will adhere to the decision of the party in the anonymous vote remains uncertain as public pressure mounts. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
So, what are the prospects of the Parliament passing the impeachment motion tomorrow? Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
On Thursday, all lawmakers from the 6 opposition parties again jointly submitted an impeachment motion against President Yoon to the National Assembly. According to the National Assembly Act, a vote on the motion must take place between 24 and 72 hours after being reported to the plenary session. The opposition has scheduled the vote for Saturday at 4 p.m. For the impeachment motion to pass, at least 2/3 of the 300 lawmakers must approve it. Currently, there are 199 lawmakers, including 7 from the ruling People Power Party, who support the motion to impeach the president. This means at least 1 more vote is needed from the ruling People Power Party for the motion to pass. 192 lawmakers from the opposition bloc are also still in favor of the motion, despite Cho Guk, the leader of the Cho-guk Innovation Party, losing his seat after he was sentenced to jail for academic bribery and fraud. He was succeeded by Baek Sun-hee, who is also in favor of impeachment. If the National Assembly approves the motion, the final decision on impeachment will then be determined by the Constitutional Court. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Police authorities are reportedly exploring the possibility of seeking an arrest warrant for the president and a search warrant for his residence. Our top office correspondent Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
The police investigation team is carrying out a compulsory investigation into President Yoon Suk-yeol for his declaration of emergency martial law last Tuesday. This came on Friday during a briefing by the Special Investigation Team. An official also said that the team is looking into requesting an arrest warrant for President Yoon. In addition, a search warrant is being looked into for President Yoon's residence, as well as a warrant to seize his communication records and summon him for police questioning. Last Wednesday, the police also tried to raid the Yongsan presidential office but didn't gain access inside due to security issues. Only some requested documents were obtained. The team will have to look into reusing the search warrant within the next week as per procedure. Meanwhile, the police also obtained a secured phone of the then Police Agency Commissioner General Cho Ji-ho. The investigation team says that there were around 6 calls made from President Yoon to Cho on the night martial law was declared. In another separate investigation by the prosecutors, a request for arrest was made for the chief of the military's counterintelligence command, Yeo In-hyung. He's alleged to have been given orders to send troops into the National Assembly to arrest key opposition party lawmakers and to send troops to the National Election Commission to obtain servers. He's now accused of being an accomplice for following the orders. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The unique traits of Korea's protests have been making their own headlines amid the political turmoil here, and this time the focus has been on their flamboyant and festive atmosphere. Our An Sung-jin was out and about.
Peaceful yet passionate, festive but serious. These somewhat contradicting words accurately represent the scene of recent political protests in South Korea. Candlelit protests had already garnered a lot of attention from the protests back in 2016. But following a then lawmaker's statement that candles go out when the wind blows, this time protesters found another way to convey their message: K-pop and light sticks. It's merchandise used by fans to cheer for their favorite idols. And with these, the atmosphere at these political rallies has changed.
What you're seeing behind is row after row of protesters with light sticks, chanting messages while singing along to K-pop songs. At night, the weather is well below zero, but the heat from these rallies is a powerful symbol that signifies solidarity.
A new protest culture has emerged, and it's being embraced by different age groups, but led by those in their 20s and 30s.
I felt bad that it didn't come immediately after the martial law declaration because of school, so as soon as it was over, I came straight away.
I'm in my 50s and I can really see that protests change a lot over time, which is touching. It's meaningful that a lot of young people have been leading these protests in a very peaceful manner, yet also being very vocal at the same time.
One expert says that K-pop helps give people a voice.
For these people, light sticks are a very precious item to them. The fact that they bring them out here means that they think of these rallies as a safe space where one can voice themselves while expressing uniqueness.
Alongside light sticks and chants, banners with quirky names or slogans were also there to demonstrate that it's ordinary people who are showing signs of support.
Last week's news was really shocking, the martial law announcement, and then I'm glad that it's all peaceful so far. No violence and no soldiers on the streets.
This non-violent method of protest is only one aspect of democratic citizenship, or a sense of civic consciousness despite the political turmoil. During these rallies, supporters were seen prepaying for meals or drinks at cafes and nearby restaurants. Though protests take place to express political dissent, the scenes of them instead show harmony, unity across generations, and consideration for each other. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, what has been the impact of Korea's short-lived martial law on its tourism sector? Our E&E answers this question.
From January to October this year, South Korea welcomed almost 14 million foreign tourists, recovering 94% of the visitors seen in the same period of 2019, before the COVID-19 pandemic. However, President Yoon Suk-yeol's declaration of martial law on December 3rd has had an impact on the travel industry. An official from a hotel near the National Assembly in Yeouido told a local news agency that on the day after the declaration of martial law, the cancellation rate was 44% higher than the December average. The Four Seasons Hotel Seoul usually has 60 to 70% of its bookings from foreign tourists. After the martial law declaration, the hotel received over 100 inquiries. Although the actual cancellation rate was low, A hotel official said that bookings for December remain uncertain. In response, the South Korean government has acted to minimize the effect on the tourism industry. The Culture Ministry has asked the tourism industry to inform other countries that tourist sites are operating as usual. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs also sent a note to foreign missions in Korea, assuring them that daily life remains unchanged and therefore there is no need to adjust travel advisories. As the government works on these efforts, let's take a moment to hear from tourists already in Korea. How are they experiencing the situation? Let's find out.
We started planning our honeymoon like
8 months ago.
Nine
Nine months ago.
And Korea was always on our wish list. So we decided to go to Korea. We were gonna wait to hear for the big news, and then we're going to the site. But we thought everything is normal, so we decided to come.
We just arrived today, and everything seems perfect, and yeah, we're happy.
And amazing.
Yeah.
For those visiting Korea for the second time, their understanding of the protest culture and safety concerns didn't stop them from returning.
Well, this is my second time to Korea, and this year I bring along my family, my wife and my kids.
Yeah, here we feel like home actually. Yeah, I feel excited, and this is one of my dream country that I want to go.
It happened a few days before I was supposed to fly, and I definitely had to keep an eye on the situation. But I wasn't too worried because I've experienced protesting in Korea before, and I know it's a very, very safe place to be. So,
while it's uncertain how long the current instability will last, efforts are being made to ensure the safety and well-being of all citizens, residents, and visitors alike who are seeking the same peace and security during their time in South Korea. Eun-hee, Arirang News.
Economic perception has taken a beating amid the chaos within the political arena here, and risk factors beyond borders look to further dampen prospects. Our correspondent Moon Hae-ryeon reports.
The South Korean government has raised concerns over potential economic downturn risks, highlighting a decline in consumer and business confidence. That's according to the latest Economic Green Book, a monthly economic assessment report released by the Finance Ministry on Friday. The first report to be released since the martial law incident last Tuesday states that while inflation remains under control, growing domestic and international uncertainties could further dampen economic sentiment, raising the likelihood of economic risks contributing to an economic slowdown. The report reflects a darker outlook compared to the previous month, with the term gradual economic recovery omitted and replaced with concerns about growing uncertainty.
The only official data we have is on industrial activity from October, and there isn't enough preliminary data to make an accurate judgment about the current economic situation. We asked ourselves, what is the most accurate word to describe the current economic situation? We also reviewed past Green Book assessments from similar situations in the past.
Although terms like martial law or impeachment crisis were not explicitly mentioned, the government noted that the prolonged political turmoil is likely to cause households to tighten spending and businesses to slow down investment. The report also revealed weak domestic recovery trends, with private consumption up only 0.5% from the previous quarter in the third quarter of the year. Retail sales in October showed a mixed picture, with non-durable goods and semi-durable goods showing a rise in sales, while durable goods saw a significant decline month-on-month. Additionally, October's facility investment and construction figures showed negative growth, signaling persistent challenges in the economy. However, export performance remained stable, with November's exports increasing by 1.4% year-on-year. This marks the 14th consecutive month of positive growth. The government emphasized that despite geopolitical risks, global economic recovery remains intact, but further uncertainties, particularly in trade environments, continue to pose challenges. Moving forward, the government plans to maintain strong international credibility while reinforcing efforts to support economic stability and strengthen industrial competitiveness. During an emergency economic meeting on Friday, finance authorities reported a conference call with 3 major international credit rating agencies to note the strong fundamentals of South Korea's economy. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
In other news, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has reportedly invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to his inauguration next month in Washington, D.C. And in a similar amicable manner, the Chinese leader recently touched upon the importance of their bilateral ties. Our Lee Soo-jin reports.
Ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's January inauguration and its proposed high tariffs on China, Chinese President Xi Jinping has underscored the importance of economic and trade cooperation between the two nations. In a written congratulatory message for the U.S.-China Business Council's annual gala dinner held in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday local time, Xi called U.S.-China relations, quote, one of the most important bilateral relations in the world, saying that conversation and cooperation should be prioritized over competition and zero-sum games. He also highlighted China's commitment to staying in communication with the U.S. and finding a path toward coexistence in a new era. But it is yet unclear whether she would attend Trump's inauguration next month. Incoming White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed in an interview with Fox News on Thursday local time that an invitation was extended to Xi as part of Trump's efforts to create an open dialogue with both U.S. allies and competitors. Xi, however, said it has not been determined whether Xi will accept the invitation. As is customary for foreign dignitaries such as ambassadors, China's ambassador to the U.S. and his spouse are expected to attend the event on January 20. And Trump also once again made clear his desire to leverage his close relations with North Korea to navigate global issues. In an interview released by Time magazine on Thursday for his selection as its 2024 Person of the Year, Trump called the involvement of North Korea in the Russia-Ukraine war a, quote, complicating factor, but emphasized how he was the only one that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ever, quote, dealt with. As he expressed his determination to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine, he criticized its use of U.S. weapons as escalating the war, but said that he would not abandon Ukraine. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, North Korea remains on Washington's blacklist of states that are believed to support international terrorism. The U.S. government is also promising a reward for information on 2 North Korean IT companies, one based in China and another in Russia. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The U.S. State Department on Thursday released its annual list of state sponsors of terrorism. The 2023 Country Reports on Terrorism has included North Korea for the 8th straight year. The regime was first listed as a state sponsor of terrorism in 1988 for its involvement in the 1987 bombing of a Korean Air passenger flight. However, North Korea's designation was rescinded in 2008 after a legal review. In November 2017, the State Department added North Korea back onto the list, noting that the regime has repeatedly supported acts of international terrorism in the 9 years since being removed. The U.S. included examples of North Korea's support of terrorism, including the protection and sheltering of 4 Japanese Red Army members who are wanted by the Japanese government for their part in the 1970 Japan Airlines hijacking. The annual list has served as a guide for policy decisions on counterterrorism and includes Cuba, Iran, and Syria. Meanwhile, Washington is offering a reward of up to $5 million for information on 2 North Korean IT firms. Yanbian Silver Star Network Technology in China and Volisys Silver Star in Russia are accused of exploiting workers to generate revenue for the North. The U.S. State Department also named 14 people involved with the companies, including a single CEO of both firms and the presidents of the 2 companies. In its release, the U.S. accused the companies of generating revenue by deceiving U.S. and other businesses worldwide into hiring them as freelance IT workers. It added that the companies laundered their ill-gotten gains to benefit North Korea. The 14 individuals and other unnamed associates are known to have used stolen, borrowed, and purchased identities of hundreds of people in the U.S. in order to conceal their identities. Through those actions, they worked with some 130 North Korean IT workers to generate at least $88 million in illicit revenue for the regime. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And over in LA on Thursday, Korean gamer Faker was crowned Best Esports Athlete of the Year at the Game Awards. Now, this is the 2nd year in a row that Faker has taken this title. What's more, T1, the team that he leads, was granted the Best Esports Team Award. Now, last month, the team won the League of Legends World Championship, also for the second straight year. And US magazine Forbes has included Hotel Sheila CEO Lee Boo-jin and Naver CEO Choi Soo-yeon on its list of the world's 100 most powerful women of this year. Lee was ranked 85th and Choi 99th, respectively. The ranking takes into account wealth, influence, and range of activities. These latest positions, however, are lower compared to those last year when Lee stood at 82nd and Choi at 96th. The African Development Bank believes prospects are high for broader productive ventures between South Korea and the African continent, especially in light of an inaugural summit hosted by Seoul this past summer. My colleague Shin Ha-young has details.
It's been a half a year since the Korea-Africa Summit, and the African Development Bank is looking forward to building on the outcomes of recent cooperation between the two sides. That's what President Akinwumi Adesina of the African Development Bank said during an interview at the Africa Investment Forum. Agreeing to launch a high-level dialogue on expanding cooperation in the supply chain of critical minerals was one of the key outcomes.
Africa shouldn't be exporting those as raw materials because that is the direct door to poverty. We need to make sure then that Africa is able to process, add value, and to these critical minerals and move up the value chain. Now, Korea, this is where Korea comes in. Korea is again supporting us through the Korea Trust Fund to do critical analysis and assessments of how we might be able to set up lithium-ion battery, precursor battery manufacturing plants in Africa.
In terms of agricultural development, along with technology transfer, South Korea's K-Rice Belt Initiative has been a perfect fit for the so-called REWARD program, a $650 million initiative by the AfDB to improve food security in West Africa.
Korea is also helping us on something very important, which is in helping with the use of drone technology for agriculture, and using those drones to be able to monitor temperature, to be able to monitor climate, whether it's moisture, to be able to also monitor pests and diseases. And so that technology transfer is happening a lot from Korea.
Meanwhile, ahead of Donald Trump's second term, with many countries closely watching his America First policies, President Adesina believes the partnership with the U.S., especially in critical minerals, will continue.
Africa is a great trading partner with the United States. President Biden went to Africa, paid his first visit to Africa, and went to Angola. And on the Lobito corridor, back to the issue of the critical minerals that you were saying. And so I expect that the partnership on critical metals will be big and continue with the United States. United States is our second largest contributor to the African Development Bank. And I believe that will continue and probably will be even much stronger under the new president.
Celebrating its 60th anniversary this year, the president reflected not only on the growth of the AfDB's capital, which evolved from an initial $250 million to $318 billion, but also on its impact on the continent's development.
If you ask me what has really changed with African Development Bank since 1960, I would say today we are at the center of Africa's development. In the last 7-8 years that we've been running these high fives in Africa, is that if we've impacted on 500 million people, from water to sanitation access, to transport access, to energy access, to food security and all of that, and private sector as well. So that's how the bank has become today.
He described the past 6 decades as phenomenal, adding that the needs of Africa are immense and that working in partnerships is crucial. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News, Rabat.
There's no news of snow or rain in Seoul today, but it is expected to get colder as the temperatures drop. So please dress warmly when you go out. Unlike Seoul, the Chungcheongdo provinces, the Jeollado provinces, and Jeju Island are currently having a mixture of snow and rain. Heavy snow of 1 to 2 centimeters per hour will be concentrated in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island, where a heavy snow warning is issued. Also, the inland areas of southern parts of Chungcheongnam-do province and the eastern parts of Jeollabuk-do province. Up to 30 centimeters is expected on Ulleung-do and Dokdo Islands, up to 10 in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island, and up to 5 to 7 centimeters in the Chungcheongdo and Jeollado provinces. Tomorrow, Seoul and Daejeon will start off at -4 degrees, Gyeongju -3 degrees. Highs will move up to 5 in Daejeon and Gwangju, Busan 8 degrees. The morning temperature in Seoul this weekend will drop to -4 degrees Celsius, marking the lowest temperature this winter so far. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, that ends our newscast for now. We have updates coming up in about 2.5 hours. Join us then. Thank you for watching.